Hi, welcome back to another solution video for PMP questions for the series of questions that we are putting out on Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn. Here we provide the video solutions of the questions that we have put out on those channels. Again, the same routine will be followed where we'll go through the question, see the options, then highlight the part of the questions that you must consider at the time of answering the question, and then if there are some terms that I feel need to be explained to you, we will provide a detailed explanation, after which we will ask you to pause the video and maybe think of the solution on your own, and then we'll provide the complete solution. So the question says, you are managing a mobility project. Your team informs you that they cannot begin testing individual modules until you have completed the development of all the requirements. Which type of relationship is your team referring to? The options are A, finish to start, B, start to finish, C, start to start, and D, finish to finish. Now, like always, we will first consider what part of the question is actually important. Here, I have highlighted and underlined the most important parts of the question. They cannot begin testing individual modules. So, you cannot begin testing individual modules until you have completed the development. So you cannot begin unless you have completed the development. These words or group of words are the most important. I understand some of you might be able to come up with the answer by just looking at the underlined statements. But I will request you to hold your horses and we will discuss each and every option in detail. So if any other question is asked in the PMP exam, we will be able to understand the dependencies very clearly. The options that are given here are basically called work dependencies and depend upon the predecessor and the successor task and how they are connected to one another. So we will go through the options. I'll help you understand each and every dependency through examples so that you have a very clear understanding of what these dependencies actually mean. So we'll start with the first option, finish to start. Now, finish to start is also called as a natural dependency. What does natural dependency mean? It means that we must finish the predecessor task to start a successor task, in the sense that if we are doing, let's say, two things which are interconnected, we must first complete the first task to begin the second task. I have given an example of installing new IT equipment. Let's say you're in the office and the IT guy has to install new equipment. However, there are always there are two tasks involved. One, installing the equipment. Second, training the staff. If something new is installed in the system, the staff has to be trained for the same. So there are two tasks, installing the equipment and training the staff. So first the IT guy will install the system. After the installation is complete, it is finished, only after that can he start training the staff. So this is a finish to start dependency where installation has to be completed before we can start training the staff. So this is finish to start. What is the second option? The second option that was discussed was start to finish, which means you only finish the predecessor task if the successor task has started. Means, let's say there are task 1 and task 2. You can only complete task 1 after task 2 has started. I'll give you the example. Let's say you're using a crane for unloading something, but before you unload something, you have to load something also. So let's say you are lifting a heavy equipment and you have to erect it or put it in a certain place on the work site. So the first thing you will do is you will lift the equipment, and the second thing you will do is you will unload the equipment. But there are two teams involved when you're working on a crane. I have actually for 7 years, I'm an electrical engineer by profession. For 7 years, I've worked on site and you have to use cranes daily. And the basic concept is you cannot start lifting an equipment unless and until a team is set up for unloading the equipment. When heavy equipment is on the crane, it is always a very critical time because a slight imbalance can actually topple the crane and can cause a lot of physical damage to the site, and there is a probability that manpower also gets damaged in the process. So during these times, before you even start lifting the equipment, the unloading team has to be on site to make sure that the work can be completed in the minimum amount of time, and the crane does not have to keep lifting that equipment for a longer period of time, because the longer the time the crane is lifting that equipment, there is a huge possibility that something might go wrong and some damage might be caused. So Start to finishes, you can only complete task 1 after task 2 has started. Then the third option was start to start. It means that a successor activity cannot start unless the predecessor activity has started. What do you do when you have to paint the exterior of a house? You first have to erect the scaffolding and then paint the house. Okay, so you cannot start painting the house unless and until you've started erecting the scaffolding. Now, a lot of people will think that you cannot start painting unless the entire scaffolding is done. But please try and understand, when you have to paint the entire house, scaffolding can be erected on one side of the house and you can start painting that side. The rest of the 3 sides can work later, in the sense that by the time you erect scaffolding on the other 3 sides, we can always start working on the first side where the scaffolding is already erect. So you cannot start painting the house unless you start scaffolding, but it is not related to finishing. When one side is scaffolded, you can start painting that, and the rest of the sides scaffolding can be done later. The fourth option was finish to finish. It means that the predecessor task has to be finished in order to finish the successor task. What I mean to say is task 1 has to be finished in order to finish task 2. Okay. The example we have taken here is electrical work in a new home. Now, it requires 2 things: doing electrical work, completing the cabling, completing the electrical equipment, not erection, but at least installation. And then the second part is drywalling. If you don't know what drywalling is, I'll request you to go on the internet and search what drywalling actually means. Okay. So here it means that unless and until the electrical work is completed, I cannot complete the drywalling. This is completely opposite to the option C. I have to complete the entire electrical work before I can think of completing my. Now, I hope all the 4 options are clear to you. We'll first again go to the question and then see if you can get the answer correctly. So the question is, they cannot begin. So you cannot start testing individual modules until you have completed the development, finished all the requirements. Means you cannot start until you have finished something. So this option will be finish to start. I hope the understanding of the question was clear. If you have any questions that you feel we can help you answer, put them in the connect section and we will try and get back to you with the solutions. If the questions are really good, we will make a video of the same and credit the question to you. I'll request you again to follow us on Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn so that you can get an update of the questions that we have put out, and subscribe us on YouTube so that you can see all the solutions that we are putting out for the questions. I assure you these questions are exactly like the questions that we will face in the exam, and going through these questions daily, it will only take you 5 minutes, but it will help you clear a lot of concepts as we try and give an explanation for all the concepts that are there in the question before we answer the question. I hope this video has been informative. Thank you.